All right, good morning, folks, and welcome back to GBN Live. I'm Todd Cartner, your host, and today we're excited to have with us Samantha Snyder, who is with Sotheby's International Realty, Joan, Herlong and Associates up in our Greenville area. And we want to thank our sponsor, Grand Strand Law Group. They want to be your trusted source. They have offices in Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach, and you can reach them at 843-492-5422 or online at grandstrandlawgroup.com. Make sure you give permission to Facebook so we can view your comments. You can do that by going to StreamYard.com/Facebook. If you have any questions for today's guest or GBN, just type them in the comment section and we'll be able to get them on air live. Again, Samantha is coming up soon, so stay tuned. GBN Live is next. All right, folks, welcome back to GBN Live, and we have with us Samantha Snyder up from our Greenville Networking Success Chapter, all the way up in the upstate. Welcome, Samantha.
Hey, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, how you been doing?
Good. The weather is beautiful up here. As you can tell, I'm sitting outside. It's a gorgeous day. So, very excited as we're getting ready to enter into spring market.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it's beautiful down here in Myrtle Beach, too. If you just get rid of that pollen, you can probably hear that in my voice a little bit. So, Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, where you're from, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I am originally from upstate New York in Syracuse. I graduated college, and my very last final, I got in my car and I left and I went to the Washington, D.C., Virginia area because I was done with snow. I was done with cold. And at the time, the man I was dating, who's now my husband, was living there. He was in the Army, working in the Pentagon. So I went there. We were in D.C. for about a year or so, bounced around a little bit while he was in the military. And during that time, we made an overnight stop here in Greenville, South Carolina. And we made a promise to each other that once he was out of the military, Greenville was where we were going to put down roots. We were only here for one night, but we could just tell that this was where we wanted to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, Greenville is a beautiful area and it's growing like crazy.
Yes, it really is. And we love it. Since we've moved down, his parents moved down after us. My sister and her husband moved down. My niece is here. I actually work with my sister's husband, Patrick. He is one of my partners out of the Furman Group. So it's been a really positive thing for the whole family. Yeah.
So you started a trend.
Yes.
Well, Samantha, tell us a little bit about your team. You just kind of started mentioning that there a little bit, but tell us a little bit about that as a real estate agent. And is it Sotheby's? Is that how you say it?
Sotheby's.
Sotheby's.
Yes.
Okay. Joan, Herlong and Associates, Sotheby's International Realty.
Yes.
Long name, amazing results.
Yes, absolutely. So my team is it's made up of myself, my brother-in-law, Patrick, and our friend, Matt Knox. All three of us are broker associates. And it's the three of us together, it's a really good combination because Patrick is somebody who's so very detail oriented and he's so good with everything that has to do with like the behind the scenes kind of stuff. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm very loud, outgoing, personable. I like to be out there meeting people. But Patrick and I are both from upstate New York. And sometimes, especially in certain areas, that can create a disconnect with the people who were born and raised here. And we started working very closely with Matt Knox, who has been here forever and ever and ever. His family's from here. I joke, I call him the other Mayor Knox because anywhere we go, he knows everybody. So it's just a really good, we complement each other in these great ways. And we're always there to help each other. You know, it's a lot of people have a team and they have an assistant or this or that. We're a full team of brokers. So if heaven forbid, anything were to happen to me, let's say I was in a car accident or something along those lines, my clients would still have broker level service.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And it means a lot. So I just want to touch a little bit, and we kind of discussed this before, but the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor is a member of the National Association of Realtors, which holds you to a higher standard. And I think that's important for our viewers to know because not everyone is a realtor.
Correct. So if you are licensed, you're a real estate agent, but you're not
Correct.
a realtor until you become a member of the NAR, you go through the classes. It's just there's ethical standards that you have to meet to be a realtor.
Right. And that is a difference. So what is the benefits of the network that a realtor may have for the buyer and the seller?
Oh, goodness. Endless, really. I mean, well, a good realtor, good agent, good realtor, good broker will have a strong network of people that they can refer you to for everything. And when you are in the process of buying a house, selling a house, trying to invest, if you're somebody who's not from this area, it's a game changer. It is absolutely a game changer having an agent that has that really deep network for everything you could ever possibly need.
And that network is not just in the transaction. So in a transaction in your network, you may have the closing attorney, you may have the mortgage lender that you work with, a home inspector that you work with, but it also goes after the sale as well because as a realtor myself, you and I both have a huge network of individuals that we can refer to, from a plumber, an electrician, a landscaper, a remodeling person. I mean, it's endless.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny because I'll even get calls just asking, "Hey, Sam, who is the best chiropractor in this area?" Or, "Hey, our kid is going to be joining this team and they really want to get into soccer. Do you know of any private one-on-one coaches that can help them achieve their goals?" So it's really important to have a really well-rounded network as well, because especially for those people, again, who are coming from out of town, and there's a lot of them. This area has a lot of people coming from out of town. Greenville and the upstate in general, we're always on these top 10 lists, top 5 lists. We're just one of the areas to be right now. And it really makes a big difference when you're coming down here if you have somebody who's kind of your own personal Rolodex.
And it's funny that you said that because we sometimes are the only person they know when they move here.
Yes.
Until they get, established.
Oh, absolutely. I recently had a buyer and very proud of her, young woman, first time home buyer, doing it on her own, moving to a different state. And she's become a good friend because I was the only person she knew when she first moved here. So we would often have lunch. I've introduced her to a couple of people that I know that live in her area. And that has been something really neat to see, to watch her now starting to curate her own network based on some of the connections that I made with her. And it's really neat to see.
Sure. So we know that as realtors, things can go wrong in a transaction. So if I were to ask you as a client, what would you do if something went wrong in that transaction? How do you handle that?
So that absolutely depends on what it is that's gone wrong. So
Right.
if we're in the transaction and let's say you're the seller and a storm comes through and now you have damage to your roof, that's something that has gone wrong. So in that case, I have a roofer I can connect you with. I have a couple of renovations people I can connect you with. I have a drywaller. I have a painter. I can call and I can make those connections for you. I can call and get that inspector back out there to make sure, okay, yes, your roof is good to go before we go back on the market. If something goes wrong in the legal sense, obviously we have a pretty solid network of real estate attorneys, and our broker in charge, William Herlong, he's also actually an attorney. So we have a lot of ways to protect our clients in the event that something goes wrong, whether something goes wrong in the physical sense or something goes wrong financially, something goes wrong legally. We have a lot of ways that we're there to protect you.
And it's life. Things happen, right?
Always.
Yeah. So what would a great agent do to prepare someone to sell their home?
The first thing that I would do, you said the first thing any great agent would do is you obviously want to do a first look at their house. I always tell people, beware of an agent who shows up at your house or who is sending you stuff in the mail and says, I know exactly what your house is worth. How can they? How can they, unless they are a very close friend of yours that is in your house all the time, how can they possibly know what your home is worth? They have no idea if you've done renovations. They have no idea if you've moved in and you've destroyed that house since you've been in there. They don't know if you have added on some type of large addition. They don't know. So the first thing I would do is walk through your house, and I'm walking through it, kind of with a buyer's eye and just trying to get a feel for what your house looks like and how it compares to other homes that are in your area of the market, right? How it compares to your current competition. After that initial walkthrough, and during that, we would talk about your goals a little bit as well. If you're somebody who, say, for example, you have to sell, right? You've got something going on, you've got some sort of medical ailment, and you have to sell, and you don't have the finances to put any work into it. That's going to make a difference in how we price, because you're not going to be able to do, if you're unable or unwilling to do certain things to get the home ready for market, then okay, we have to price the home based on its current condition. So we have a conversation like that. I go home, I do a market analysis where I go through things that have currently sold, things that are on the market, and things that have recently gone under contract, because that is your competition. And we look at it from all aspects. So we take that along with the current condition of your home, what your goals and plans are, and that is how we try to find, okay, here's realistically where you could price the home to give it its best chance of selling for that price. Then I would go back to the home and we would talk about, okay, are we going to stage? Does something need to be painted? So we would do all of those things to get ready for sale. I would also always recommend people to get their home inspected. Now, most people think of a home inspection when you're buying a home, when you're purchasing a home, but it's equally important to have one done if you're getting ready to sell. Because that gives you, if you already know what's going on with the house, if you already have an opportunity to fix certain things before you even go on the market, that gives you more leverage when it comes time when you're receiving offers.
Because that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And it's going to make the buyers feel good, right? It seems counterintuitive because people are always like, well, I don't want to give the buyer too much information. I don't want to scare the buyer away. Give the buyer as much information as you can. Because if the buyer sees, hey, this person is being fully transparent with me, they're going to trust you. And you're going to have a much better opportunity for getting top dollar, because people are going to know, okay, this house was taken care of. Or they're going to know, if you're selling the house as is, they know exactly what as is truly means. And they're not going to write an offer saying, oh, well, as we were walking through the house, we saw, the hole in the floor. Well, if you look, we have an inspection report. We know there's a hole in the floor, and we priced accordingly. So you have a little bit more leverage when negotiations come up.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So if I were looking to sell my house, what are some of the questions I should ask my agent?
If you're looking to sell your house, obviously you want to ask them, how is the market in my local area? A lot of people, real estate there's things that happen on the worldwide scale, national, statewide, but a lot of real estate is hyper local. So you want to ask your agent, what is going on in my neighborhood? What is going on in my specific corner of the market? I know a lot of people, their first instinct is to ask their agent for very specific stats. Well, what is your average day on market? And what is your, average price point? But do you really want to work with an agent that's average? So there's a lot of agents out there who can say, oh, my average price point is this and my average days on market is that. Well, that's great. But what does average mean? You want to work with people who aren't afraid to take a weird property. You want to work with people who have worked in different parts of the market and sold different types of housing. So you don't want to look for someone who's necessarily average, but you do want to also ask them how they price the home. You want to ask them what to do to get your home ready. And then you want to ask them how they're going to market your home. Are they going to just do the 3 Ps of real estate? Are they going to put it on the MLS, put a sign in the yard and pray? Or do they actually have a full marketing plan?
And that's funny, because the average days on market is going to depend on where the home is located.
Yes.
If it's in a thriving neighborhood, it could be a few days. If it's out in the country and it's got 40 acres with it that not everyone's looking for, that's going to be on the market a little bit longer.
Exactly. So that's why when people ask questions about averages as far as an agent's personal stats, that's why it's a little weird, because some things are just don't sell as quickly. Some things require a very specific buyer, and you don't want to have an agent who's afraid of that.
Right. So why is it so important to ask an agent how they're going to market their property?
So it's important to ask an agent that, because you do have a lot of agents who will just do the 3 Ps, right? They'll do the bare minimum, kind of let the MLS and syndication do the work for them and hope for the best. Now, back in, end of 2020 and in 2021, a little bit of 2022, you could get away with that. You could do that. But if you're in a market, let's say, like you were saying, if you're in a corner of the market where there are higher days on market, if you're in a neighborhood that's not as highly sought after, or if you have a property where you're way out in the country and there's 40 acres and there's a very specific buyer looking for that, you want to know that your agent is going to do what they need to do to not only get your property in front of as many eyes as possible, but to get it in front of the right eyes, right? Let's say you're selling a property here in Simpsonville in one of the neighborhoods, and it's a 3-2, and it doesn't make sense for your agent to market that property all over the lakes. Instead, they should be marketing that property in other surrounding neighborhoods, or neighborhoods where people tend to age out of that neighborhood or transition out of that neighborhood and move into the neighborhood that your home is in. So you want to make sure you're targeting the right audience and the right eyes.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. So, well, guys, stick with us. If you have any questions for Samantha or for GBN Live, just make sure you type them in the comments and we'll get to those. But we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the buying side of real estate. Stick with us, GBN Live. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Justice Ann. I've been a canine liaison at Grand Strand Law Group for, 30 years? What's that? You don't believe me? I meant 30 dog years, of course. First rule of lawyering, read the fine print. Anywho, my humans at Grand Strand Law Group have a combined 20 years experience. I know, not as much as me, but that's in people years. So yeah, still pretty impressive. Real estate, estate planning, or probate, you need GSLG.
Grand Strand Law Group. Trust us, we have a dog.
Great Business Networking grew out of the idea that by creating lasting friendships within the community, we can make the community even better.
I was looking to network with professionals and to be able to refer my clients to somebody that I trust.
Well, it's really important to trust the members of the group because we really generate quality referrals, and to know somebody, be friends with them, and get that qualified referral is the key to success.
It is networking, but it doesn't feel like networking, and that is important to me. I come to the meetings, I have fun, I make great connections, and I help grow my business.
GBN, these are some of the best professionals in the market, and having that resource available to me, that's priceless.
Well, GBN is a network of business professionals that build long-lasting friendships that will not only grow my business, will grow yours as well. That's what referral marketing is all about.
GBN really is the most important marketing for your business. Check us out today.
All right, welcome back to GBN Live. I'm Todd Carter, your host, and today we have with us Samantha Snyder. She's with Joan, Herlong and Associates, Sotheby's International Realty, and she's part of our Greenville Networking Success chapter up in the upstate. So we want to thank our sponsor once again, Grand Strand Law Group. You can reach them at 843-492-5422. They have offices in Myrtle Beach and North Myrtle Beach, and they want to be your trusted choice. You can reach them also at grandstrandlawgroup.com. If you have any questions, make sure you ask them in the comments so we can get them on air here and see what kind of questions we have there. So you can give permission to StreamYard.com/Facebook so that we can see your questions. All right. So, Samantha, we know in the last few months it's been a strong seller's market. I think that's starting to change a little bit. But we've seen some of the properties sell for tens of thousands over what the appraised value is. Are you still seeing that up in the upstate?
So again, this kind of goes back to real estate being a hyper localized thing. I checked this morning. So looking at the past 7 days, 13% of the properties that are currently active on the MLS in the past 7 days have seen a price reduction. Our average days on market right now is over 70. So it's one of those things where there are changes. Things are becoming a little bit more buyer favorable. However, there are certain neighborhoods in and around this area where there's essentially a waiting list to get in, it seems. I mean, there's a neighborhood, for example, Gower. Gower is one of these neighborhoods, highly, highly sought after. Very rarely does a home come on the market in Gower because it's usually sold off market the moment somebody says, I'm thinking of selling my home. There's people in that neighborhood, either they themselves or they got friends or friends of friends,
Sure,
that find out this home is about to be sold. That home doesn't even make it to market. And if it does, it's a fight. So we definitely have certain neighborhoods like that, but there's also a lot of areas where we're seeing a slowdown. I mean, there's definitely an opportunity for buyers right now.
yeah. And the interest rates just went back up a little, so that's making it harder for a buyer.
Oh, absolutely. And buyers, these past couple of years, buyers have watched prices skyrocket, but they're also seeing those really high interest levels. So they're seeing those high interest rates, they're seeing prices skyrocket. So you have a buyer who might have started looking or started their search or planning to buy a home a couple of years ago or a year and a half or so ago. And their idea of what a $400,000 home looks like and how much that should cost them each month is wildly different from reality. So you have a lot of buyers now who are being very choosy because their expectations are, hey, if I am spending thousands of dollars more than I was originally anticipating on spending,
Yep.
it's going to be in this neighborhood, then it better be top notch. So that's the expectation that buyers have. So I think that's a big part of why we're seeing homes in certain areas just sitting, and we're seeing inventory becoming a little stale.
Yeah. And we're seeing down here condos have really slowed down in townhomes. Number one, because the insurance rates for their associations have gone sky high. And so that's made their HOA dues go up. And the interest rates for condos is even higher than single family. And as a matter of fact, a lot of loans now are requiring you to put a lot more down on a condo or a townhome, especially if it's an investment property.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So if it's, sometimes it isn't possible to view a home on the spur of the moment. Why is that?
Because sellers have lives. Sometimes you have a seller who maybe has some sort of medical issue or has kids that are home and have to be into bed by a certain time, or maybe that seller works from home and has certain hours where that home cannot be viewed. So sometimes you can't just immediately go over there. If that home is occupied by a seller, the seller has to agree to say, okay, yeah, you can come in at this time. And sometimes
it's a tenant.
Yep,
That's in place.
As well.
Yeah, same thing. So I guess the reason for my question there is that if you're out there and you're looking to buy a home, understand that we have to be at their mercy to show the home. So sometimes it's not possible. And sometimes they require 24 or 48 hour notice to show that property. So just keep that in mind as well. So Samantha, what can a buyer do to stand out in today's market?
So in today's market, well, in any market, really, what I'll do, right? So if there's a home that looks like there's gonna be a lot of competition on it, or if I know, okay, there's a lot of competition on it, the first thing I'm gonna do if my buyer loves that home, I'm calling that listing agent. That's the biggest thing. You wanna make sure you're gonna have an agent who's gonna communicate with other agents. I'm calling that listing agent and I'm asking, hey, I know price is important. Price is always important. But aside from price, Is there anything that would really make an offer stick out to your sellers? Are there any specific dates they're aiming for? Are there any specific contingencies they're trying to avoid? So you really want to communicate with that other agent, because sometimes sellers will have a very specific pain point that your buyer may be able to overcome.
And if you can overcome that pain point, you really do stand out above others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice there. So if somebody's looking to buy a house right now, what do they need to do to be ready to make an offer?
Have your financials in order. That is the absolute number one thing. You call your financial advisor. If you plan on paying in cash, call your financial advisor, call your tax person, call your bank. Make sure that you are able to do that. If you need a mortgage, make sure that you are speaking with a lender and that you have a pre-approval letter before you even go out looking at a home. Because the absolute last thing that you want to do is there's a lot of those nice little like mortgage calculators online and how much can I afford. People do those and they will wildly overestimate or underestimate their numbers. And then they start looking on Zillow with these numbers that are completely hypothetical. And when they actually talk to a lender and they start looking with an agent, they're either, they could be disappointed, and it leads to heartbreaks and headaches because you spent months thinking, ooh, I can get this, when the reality is maybe not so much.
Right. And that is so true. And with interest rates changing every day, the mortgage lender can keep you on top of that. So it is smart. So, yeah. So why is it important for an agent to be honest with me?
I mean,
it should be a given.
Absolutely.
But, and I guess the reason for that question is that sometimes I have witnessed agents kind of tell buyers or sellers what they want to hear.
Yes.
And especially when it comes for pricing their home for sale, or we can look at these at a little bit higher price range because we can always negotiate them down, things like that. So I guess that's the reason for that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So in our office, full client transparency is one of our main pillars, right? This is something that we really, really are big on because it doesn't do your clients any favors to sugarcoat things. You can say things in a nice way, you can say things in a sweet way, but totally sugarcoating it doesn't help them. And there's a lot of people out there who will go and they'll try to buy a listing. And they go and they say, oh, this home is fantastic. This home is great. I already ran the comps. You could get $600,000 for this. And they seem like the best. They're wonderful because they told me I could make 600. They told me I could put my house on the market for 600,000 when these other two agents only said 450. So then they go with the $600,000 agent and that house doesn't sell because that agent wasn't honest with them. That agent just wanted the listing. So it's really, really important because it can cost you money in the end. And if you're on the buy side, if you're getting these, if you're getting softened answers, you're not able to do your job to really do your full due diligence in making sure that this is the right home for you.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we see it way too much, where an agent isn't as ethical as they should be, I guess is how I would say it.
Yeah, absolutely. Your clients, sellers, buyers, investors should always be in the loop, should always know exactly what people are saying. In our office, we've made it a common practice to, blind copy our clients on things we're saying, because I'm saying this to another agent or I'm saying this to a, inspection company or whatever. If I'm saying things on your behalf, you have a right to see exactly what I'm saying. You have a right to see what those responses are. So we'll often blind copy people on things, or we'll screenshot and send it to our clients. That way they're always in the know of exactly what's going on and they're able to make fully informed decisions.
Yeah. So speaking of, how does the wrong price affect a buyer and a seller?
Oh, well, obviously from a seller standpoint, now are we talking about the wrong price with it being priced too high, or are you talking about it being priced too low?
Either. Yeah.
So the wrong price can lead you to many more days on market than you'd prefer to have. You're also not getting the right eyes on it, right? So if you're pricing, if you say, okay, well, I know the comps say 400,000, but I'm going to price it at 575. Well, those buyers that are looking in that 400,000 range are now not looking at your home. But guess what? Neither are the people in the 575 range. So now you're not really getting any of the right eyes on it. You're going to be on market a really long time. You might get a bunch of showings. You might get a bunch of people who are curious. You might get a bunch of showings, but people aren't going to put an offer in. And the longer that your property sits on market, now it has a little bit of a black eye. Now buyers are looking at it and they're thinking, well, what's wrong with it? Well, why has it been on the market so long? And that makes your situation even harder to overcome. If you price correctly right off the bat, you have the best chance of selling quickly and for the price where it's actually should be valued at.
Yeah.
Pricing too low was a tactic that people were using.
Excuse me.
People were using that quite a bit a couple of years ago. They were pricing low in the hopes of encouraging bid wars, which for a little while there was working, and it was working. But in a market like this, you have the potential of pricing low and then the offers are low and there's no bid war. You have one person who makes an offer and the offer they're making is $20,000 lower than your list price.
Yeah. Or even if they make an offer at the list price, if it's priced low, now you're stuck because they're like, well, I gave you what you asked for.
You've left money on the table.
Exactly. So anyway, guys, we're going to do our rapid fire right quick. So here's some quick questions just to get to know Samantha a little bit better. What was your first job?
My first job was actually at a McDonald's, and I quit that after about a month because I didn't even know who my manager was. It was just very chaotic. So I like to say my really first job was at a small family-owned diner called the No Name Diner in upstate New York.
And I think if I remember correctly, you worked there for a long time, didn't you?
Yes, I worked there all throughout high school, all throughout college. And then even when I would come home, when my husband was in the military, and we were, moving around a lot and we would come home on Christmas or whatever, the owner would actually throw me on the schedule here and there just so I could see regulars and hang out with everybody.
That's awesome. Are you a night owl or an early bird?
Night owl, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm both, unfortunately.
Yes. I don't text me before 7, but if you call me after 9, that's okay.
Yeah. So I think I know the answer to this already, but a dog or a cat person?
Both.
Oh.
Yes, both.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk about your cats.
Yeah, we've always had cats. My husband's family, they've always had cats. So we're animal lovers all around in this household. We actually have 2 cats and 2 dogs, and we're currently fostering a dog right now for the shelter.
Yeah. That's awesome. I see you do that quite a bit.
Yes.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
No chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Oh, milk chocolate. I'm sorry. I thought you said no chocolate. Favorite color?
Blue.
Yeah. Favorite word or phrase?
Ooh. I don't know if I have one. I'll be honest. I have no idea if I have one. I've never thought about it.
Okay. That's okay. Favorite movie or actor?
Favorite movie or actor? I don't know if I have one of those either.
Wow.
I love movies, and I love movies. I love like Netflix binging. So we do a lot of that. It's really hard for me to choose just one.
Yeah. What about favorite song or artist?
Same thing. Big.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We love movies. We love music. We do a lot of that in this house. So it's hard to pick.
Yeah. What about a favorite vacation spot?
Ooh. Okay. So this one is kind of easier. We went to Italy last year, and that was incredible. I would 100% do that again any day of the week. It was fantastic.
Yeah, well, awesome. Okay, well, guys, if you want to get in touch with Samantha, you can reach her at 864-601-4862, or you can reach her on her website at samantha.snyder@sothebysrealty.com. All right, and Samantha, before you go, we obviously have a question for you. We know why referral networking is so important to you as a realtor that builds that network we were speaking about earlier. But why did you choose to be a member of GBN?
I chose GBN. One, because of the people that were kind of already in that GBN network. they were definitely people that I wanted to have in my inner circle. Obviously, the cost of GBN is significantly less than some of the other networking groups out there. Your costs are grandfathered in, which is fantastic. And because of that, it makes it easier for chapters to grow and to bring in people from different industries that you might not have seen in other groups before. So a lot of those ones that charge, thousands of dollars for membership fees, you're seeing the same 5 or 6 different industries again and again and again. But with GBN, there's definitely more of an opportunity to branch out to all different types of people, which is, again, incredibly important when you're in the real estate world.
Sure. Well, Samantha, thanks so much for joining us today, and thank you guys for watching. And remember, if it's Wednesday, it's GBN Live. We'll see you next time.